Okay, guys, I'm going to show you how to make the Drake Passionfruit bass synth. It sounds a little something like this. I have it paired with a sub here because it kind of flows well with the low notes of the synth. Just a basic sub, nothing special here. But let's go ahead and get into the sound. I use Massive to make this sound. Now, bear with me with some of the names or what exactly is going on. With my sound design, I play it by ear. I have some knowledge, but some things I'm obviously either mispronouncing things or I'm not aware of the actual technical term of what it's doing to the sound. Like I have a loss for vocabulary in certain areas. So the first thing we're going to do, we're only going to use the first two oscillators here. We're going to change the pitch on this one to 12. And I used, what's it called? Additive octaves. And I changed the wavetable position all the way down to nothing. And then the intensity, I pulled back on it to about the 2 o'clock position. And the amp, I brought it back just a bit more. For oscillator 2, I left the pitch at 0, and I used additive 2. And I brought the wavetable position to just a bit more than the 9 o'clock position. I took the intensity and I also brought it to about the same position as the wavetable position, and I dropped the amp a bit more than the first oscillator here. I use modulation oscillator as well. It's hard to hear this one, but I feel like it helps. I dropped it just barely any, and I turned on rig mod here for oscillator 1. And then I didn't use any noise, so I'm going to turn that off here. And we're going to move over to the filters here and just get all the easy knob adjustments first done. So the first thing here is we're going to put a low pass 4 on the filter. And we're going to bring the cutoff a bit higher than what it comes default here. We're going to just drop this knob a little bit. Take the resonance and bring it way down. We don't really want the resonance with the low pass filter here. For filter 2, I use something called band reject. Now, I don't exactly know what this is doing to the sound, but I feel that it helps a lot. We're going to drop the cutoff to about the 9 o'clock position. Bandwidth will leave at the 12 o'clock position, and the resonance here will drop to the 9 o'clock position. I'm going to throw this all the way up to filter 1, I believe. To mix 1. And then we're going to drop the mix all the way down to 2 here. For the amp here, I didn't do much besides just throw a 5 LFO here. I didn't mess with the LFO settings or anything, and I gave it just about halfway of room to play there. For the first effect here, I did a dimension expander. So let's go ahead and add that here. And I dropped the dry wet to about, I want to say, the 8 o'clock position. And the size here, I dropped it to about the 7 o'clock, 7.5. Barely anything on the size. And I left those two knobs where they are. For the second effect here, I added a reverb. And for the dry wet of the reverb, I put this in about a little bit more than the 9 o'clock section. And the size, I dropped it to a little bit more than 9 o'clock as well. I left the other two knobs exactly the same here. The next thing I did is I used envelope 4 here. And I tried to make it seem like a little triangle here to give it that nice pluck sound. So what I did to do that was I left the attack the way it is. The level here I brought back a bit because I felt it was hitting too hard and it was making a weird sound. The decay, I increased the decay a little bit here. This level I dropped all the way down. Yeah, I'll just leave it right there is fine. For the S loop, I left it the same. The morph, I left it all the way down. The level here, I pulled to about the 12 o'clock position, or a notch more than the 12 o'clock position. And the release, I put into a little after the 12 o'clock position as well. So this is pretty much the sound. Let's see if it sounds correctly or if I'm forgetting anything here. Sorry, I'm soloing the bass. We can drop this MIDI here and see if it sounds how it's supposed to. Now that's without the bass synth, so obviously adding the bass on top of that, it sounds well together. And some settings I like to mess around with that you can kind of fluctuate with is just like the cutoff filter. You can get some different tones out of there. And also the reverb. The reverb can really change up the sound a lot. I also mess sometimes with like the decay time and the release, if you like, because this sound you can kind of take it to a lot of different places. So like those are just some of the settings I find that could really dramatically change the sound and get like a different vibe off it. But yeah, thanks for watching. That's how you make this sound.